What's up, guys? This is John Wynn with Smart Edition, and I'm really excited to have you guys on this webinar today to talk about our #1 test-taking strategy. A lot of people overlook this, but it's going to be the #1 thing that's going to help you boost and raise your score the fastest, which is what we're all trying to do. We're all short on time, so this is going to be huge for you guys. And to put it simply, some of you may know about this, some of you may not, but the #1 strategy is to know how to use a diagnostic test. This is something that's going to save you so much time in everything that you do to study. So let's get right into it. You need to take the diagnostic test before you start studying, before you do anything. You need to know kind of the different areas that you really need to be spending your time on. And there's a lot of benefits to taking the diagnostic test, and one of the biggest benefits is to really pinpoint your weakest areas. So you can get a good idea of what you have strengths in, but you really need to know what your weakest areas are. And then what this is going to let you do is develop an action plan so that once you know what your weak areas are, you can go in and take action on it and develop some tools that are going to help you strengthen those weak areas. The other big thing about diagnostic tests is your time. It's a limited resource. You can't buy more of it. So the time that you have to study, among all the other things you have to do with your family and work and all those kinds of things, you need to use your time wisely. And so that's what this diagnostic reports are going to let you do. Just hone in and study on the things that you really need to be focusing on so you can use that time most efficiently. The other thing it does is helps to reduce your test anxiety. So knowing what your exact weaknesses are is super helpful. Not knowing them creates a lot of anxiety. So kind of getting in your head and saying, I know exactly what I need to do to improve my scores, and I'm going to go do that, brings down your anxiety. So that's a huge thing, and we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. And so once you've kind of identified those areas that you're having trouble in, you can kind of dive into the things that you're going to need to do to study. So what is a diagnostic test? Really, a diagnostic test is any approach used to gain further information about your knowledge for the purpose of making studying decisions. So you can make better decisions on what you want to study for. So, we all know how doctors work. You go in with some sort of ailment, something's not feeling right, and they're going to start doing a bunch of diagnostic tests. They might do some x-rays or biopsies or check your medical history, all these sorts of things, and they start to narrow it down to what the issue could be to make you better. And then they prescribe a medicine or a solution to remedy these things. And so that's kind of just what this diagnostic test is. It's just used for your studying, just like a doctor uses it to help their patient. So that's kind of what it is. And if we take a look at this diagram here, this really breaks down how it works. So you start with the diagnostic, and it really assists you in understanding a couple of things. One, your current situation, so that you know what your strengths and weaknesses are. It helps you to know how to improve your score quickly by knowing the specific topics. And then you can use that and know what the required resources are. So depending on where you have deficiencies, you might want to use different types of resources, whether that's videos or flashcards or more practice tests and the like. Once you understand your current situation, how to improve it, and your required resources, you can start to develop an action plan. And we're going to go into that action plan quite a bit because that's really how you start to get better and how you make all the improvement. Once you're working on that action plan, you are going to see some improved outcomes, and you're going to go all the way back to the top again and take another test, another practice test, and you should start to see your score improve, but you're still going to see some areas where you're deficient, and then go through the process again, identify those areas specifically, improve them. So that's kind of how it works. This is just kind of a quick reference diagram. So if we kind of dive into the different parts of that diagram, the first part we will look at is your current situation and how to improve it. So you want to analyze the data to discover your strengths and weaknesses. But that's not enough. And it's not enough to just say, I'm weak in math. And you probably already knew that before you took the diagnostic test. So you need to dig a little bit deeper than that. And so you need to know, say within math, what are the top 1, 2, 3 subjects that you're really struggling with? And that's totally different from just saying math is my weakness. It's actually saying, well, polynomials is my weakness, or addition and subtraction of fractions is my weakness. And now that I know that, that's what I need to focus on. I'm pretty good with everything else. Let me laser focus my study time on those particular 2 areas in math. So that's kind of looking at your current situation and identifying your weakest area. So what we can do now is take a look at an actual test score. Here we are looking at a diagnostic test scored report, and we're going to see a lot of interesting things in here that are going to help me understand what topics I'm doing pretty well at and what topics I'm not doing well at. So right off the bat, I can see that there's a lot of 100% in here. Circles, equations with one variable, interpreting graphics. There's a lot of things that I'm getting right, so I feel good about that. I'm confident, but there's some topics that I am not doing well at all. I've got some 0%, big fat zeros posted up here, a couple goose eggs, and there's a couple that I've got a 57%, I've got a 66%. So I really have an idea of where I'm very good, I'm a little bit middle of the road, and where I've got some big 0%. So the way that I would suggest using this report is to immediately kind of focus on those areas where you're getting a 0%. So, in this case, it's addition and subtraction of fractions, decimals and fractions, polynomials, standards of measure. I got all of those questions wrong. So that gives me 4 topics right off the bat that I know that I need to start studying more of. As you continue to take these tests, you're going to see a little less of those 0%. And those, actually, you should see a lot less of those 0% if you're using all the material and really kind of digging in and using the diagnostic test and remediating those areas. Now, where I see 66 and 57, I'm going to save those for later. I know that I need a little bit of help, but I did get half of them or more than half of those questions correct. So I've got something going on there, but I really need to refine that and maybe trying to find out what is it that's tripping me up about those questions, and see if you see any patterns that can maybe help me get those from a 66% or a 57% all the way up to 100. So that's kind of what we see here. Definitely useful information. I cannot stress enough how helpful this scored diagnostic test should be for you. You have to use it appropriately, and it's really going to help you guide that studying and use your time efficiently. And then as you go along, you're going to start to see these scores improve as you continue to take the practice test. And that's why we include a lot of practice tests. We don't just give you one practice test or one diagnostic, or even 2 or 3 practice tests. You get several practice tests so that you can keep going through these, and you should start to see your score improve. So that's the test here. And what I'm going to do is also show you where you can get a little more, even more in-depth analysis, or come back to this later. If I go to my account area, I'm going to take a look at the test that I just took. So I'll find the test I just took, and I can take a little deeper look at that. So here is, again, that diagnostic report, and it's going to give me some information, like specifically how long I spent on each question. So, on those questions you're getting wrong, you can see which ones you're spending way too much time on. And this is the time test, so you need to tighten that up and make sure that you're being a little bit conscious of the questions that you're just spending way too much time on it, and try and get a little faster and get a quicker pace and understand how to solve those questions a little faster. As I'm going through here, if I want to go back to some questions that I got wrong, I can hit this view, and it's going to drop that down and give me the answer solution and step-by-step answer explanations. So this is all organized by the category or the topic, in this case, addition and subtraction of fractions, which I got all incorrect. So I can go through these again and just kind of take a look at them and review that. So you kind of have two different places. You're going to get a scored report right when you finish the test, and then you can always go back a day later, a week later, a month later, and review those same score results. And so that's kind of what you have here, all by topic. And then if you go down to the bottom, I can see my cumulative score. So I got 63.89% correct. I got 36% wrong. And I can see that my score was a 63 and how long I spent on that test. So lots of helpful information here, guys. Do use this as much as you can. It's our #1 strategy. So once you have analyzed that, you kind of want to start to think about what are the required resources for me to get better at addition and subtraction of fractions or polynomials. And it's something that you need to ask yourself, which is largely around your learning style. So do you or are you more of a hands-on learner? In that case, you might want some books, some study guides, some printed materials, maybe print out practice problems and kind of work through those things, and that's going to help you best. Or you might be more of an audio-visual learner, and you're going to learn a lot better from videos. And in that case, there's lots of resources out there. Smart Edition has something like 50 different math videos on just about every topic you're going to see on your test. So use those resources, and that's going to help you most. Or if it's maybe some science terms, maybe you're studying anatomy and physiology, and you are just having trouble remembering those parts of the heart in the cardiovascular system. In that case, if it's a little more the memorization and remembering things, head over to the flashcards, take a look at those. And there's also other resources you can use, but definitely flashcards in that case for that memorization. That's definitely what you're going to want to use. So it's kind of knowing where are my deficiencies, but also how do I like to learn? And maybe I'm having some of those deficiencies because I'm not trying to learn in the right way. So try out the different ways, and you'll kind of get a sense of what clicks a little bit more for you. And then that's going to be a huge key to this whole puzzle. So knowing those required resources that are going to work best for you. After you've identified that, with all of this, you need to develop an action plan. And so that's something where you kind of specifically buckle down with some goals and try and get as specific and as clear as you can about it. So, we talked about polynomials again, for example. I would say something like, for the next 3 or 4 days or for the next week, I'm going to study for 1 hour a week, or 1 hour each of those days to get better at polynomials. And after those 3 or 4 days or the week, I'm going to take the test again, one of the other practice tests. And I want to see an improvement of 5 or 10% on that test. That's very clear, very specific, how much time you're going to spend on those specific topics so that you can get better. And then also a goal of what your measured results are. Every time you take one of these practice tests, starting with the diagnostic test, you want to see your score improve. And that's the whole point of this thing, is you can really start seeing the improvements in your scores by using this diagnostic test and this strategy, which is really key to getting better and getting the scores that you need on your test. You can also identify why you're having trouble. So there could be underlying issues that the diagnostic test is kind of helping you understand. So you've identified those particular topics, but there might be some other reasons why you're having trouble. It could be, going with math, it could be like you're switching the signs on problems and you're kind of seeing that over and over again. Or you forgot to double check that you solved for the right thing or answered the right reading question in the way that they were looking for the answer and not kind of missing that. You might have forgot to have the correct units. It was asking for inches or miles and you put kilometers, or it was asking for centimeters and you put in millimeters. So it's some of those like kind of simple things that we tend to kind of just be, careless errors, sloppy mistakes. And if you see yourself doing that over and over and over again, that could be a reason that you're getting these scores wrong. So trying to identify any patterns you have in your practice test results can definitely help you be more conscious of that and make sure you're paying attention to it so that you're not doing it over and over again. So again, practicing not only the diagnostic test, but just as many practice questions as you can, and taking as many practice tests as you can is going to help you uncover a few of those things, and just look out for those patterns on why you might be getting those questions wrong. And there might be external factors as well. So think about things like your study environment. I know in my house, things are super chaotic. I have 2 young daughters. They're running around like crazy. And if I'm trying to do any work or study there, it just doesn't work. So I need to go to other places like a library or a coffee shop, places where it's a little more quiet and I don't have all these distractions. Even if you don't have chaos at your house all the time, you just might be distracted by that you could do a load of laundry, or maybe you need to do the dishes, or that Netflix show is sitting there waiting for you to watch it. So try and get in an environment that works for you if that's an issue for you. Another common issue of why you might be having trouble is being like tired and having all these other responsibilities throughout the day, whether that's family or work or different commitments and responsibilities that you have. So if that's the case, and if that's why you're having some trouble in particular topics or really mastering them, then change up your schedule. Wake up earlier and study before work, or set aside specific times on the weekends and commit to it and say, I'm going to study between 8 and 10 a.m. and then I can have the rest of my Saturday, but I'm going to commit to studying for those hours. So if that's a thing where, I know we're all busy and a lot of us are working full time, or we're in school with a heavy course load. So doing a lot of this studying can be one of the challenges in mastering any specific or particular topic within these subjects. So make sure you're kind of just looking out for those things, and those can be big issues that can help you kind of get over the hump. Another big thing is motivation, and that can be a big stumbling block. So I might know that polynomials is something that I'm having trouble with, but I'm just not motivated to learn about polynomials. It's the bane of my existence. I don't like doing it. And I'm not motivated, but you have to remember, you have to get into a positive mental mind state and think about where you're going and the reason why you're taking this test. Think about what passing this test means for you. On the other end, what happens? And what happens if you don't pass it? Where are you then? You're right where you are now, and you're maybe even taking a step backwards. So use that motivation to know that you need to do well on this exam. I know I hate it, but I'm going to have to buckle down and learn polynomials like the back of my hand so that I can get where I'm going. It is all about having a much better tomorrow, and that's why we're all taking these tests. We're trying to get somewhere, and just trust me, the pain is temporary, and the results that you get after you pass your test and master these specific topics within the subjects that you're challenged with, those benefits will last a lifetime. So all this pain is temporary. Just remember that. And keeping that positive mind state is going to help you get mastery of these topics, even when you're just not motivated to do it. One other bonus kind of tip that I can share with you is a way to really help reduce anxiety. And it's something called affect learning. And it's using affect labeling in your head to know what is causing your anxiety. And that plays into these diagnostic tests, because I might have a lot of anxiety around math, and I'm saying math is, I don't know what the issue is. It's an unknown in my head, and it's just giving me so anxiety. I might not know where to start. I don't know how to tackle it. And by starting to say, like, knowing the specific topics within math, you can pinpoint what's causing the anxiety. Once you start to label it in your head, the fear is diminished and it starts to go away, because it's saying, I know, it's something like, I'm not actually that bad at A&P. I'm just having trouble with these two specific systems, maybe the cardiovascular system and the muscular system. And so once you kind of know that, it's like, actually, it's not that bad. I think I got this. It's not as bad as I really thought it was. I feel better about this now. Or actually, I'm pretty okay at math. I realized after taking this diagnostic test, I only had 2 subjects that I really struggled with. It's not as bad as it seemed. And now in my head, I'm feeling a little bit better. I've reduced some of that anxiety. So doing that affect labeling just helps tell your brain to calm down. It's not as bad as you think. It's only these 2 specific areas. And so that's a huge thing that can kind of help you, and it'll help you tackle those areas. And again, kind of get some motivation knowing that it's not as bad as you might think it is. And it's going to get you over that little bump in the road. So give that a try, and hopefully that's going to help you. So, I can close out this webinar. We talked about a lot, all the different reasons of what a diagnostic test is, why you would want to use it, what it's actually doing, and how that plays into a bunch of different ways that you can get over those topics that you're having challenges with. So I'm going to end it with just some more information about where you can find diagnostic tests. As we've discovered here, they're very important, so we want to make sure you have them. If you're watching this webinar, you may already have some of these Smart Edition materials like study guides, online courses. If you don't, I'll just show you a few of the places where you can find some of this information. So this is smarteditionacademy.com, and you can browse this and see our online courses. We have full online courses that have all the material that kind of come from the book, but now they are available as online courses, the lessons, chapters, all the material you actually need to know for the test. So you can get those online courses here. And then we also have practice test packages that are practice tests, and they also come with videos and flashcards similar to the online courses. So you have a couple options there, and we could just take a look at one of those for the TEAS. This is the TEAS Tutor. And here you can get a practice test package with 8 different practice tests, 100 videos, flashcards, and 8 practice tests really should be enough for you. You're going to have 1 for the diagnostic, and then you've got 7 more. So you can continue to keep going through those tests, and you're going to see your score start going up. And what you don't want to do is use the same test over and over again, because you're going to start to memorize the question. So if you're seeing other practice test packages with 3 tests or 5 tests, it's really not enough. You're going to start to memorize the answers. So I believe this is the online practice test package course that has the most practice tests. So highly suggested, and 8 is going to get you so that you are not seeing the same questions over and over again. We also have our study guide. This is one of the highest rated study guides on Amazon. You can buy it directly on our website or Amazon or Barnes & Noble bookstores. And this is about a 400-page book. It's printed in color, which is really great for the science, all those diagrams and illustrations for anatomy and physiology. And you're going to have some access to online resources with the book as well. So you've got some options there, and then make sure you follow us or join our Facebook group. There's just tons of good information on here. We post a lot of videos, we post a lot of practice questions, really active community of kind of people just like yourself who are using Smart Edition's different resources and kind of working through different problems together. So check us out on our Facebook group. And then we also have a YouTube channel. We're posting a lot on there, a lot of these types of webinars and tutorials and lots of good content that's going to help you guys out. So check us out there. And until the next webinar, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you guys soon.